Controversial but PEDs. This is the last Big Lab podcast. What are your top 5 movies you've seen and reasons why? Welcome back to the Big Lab podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, yes, I am sat in the back of my car and I'm doing a solo podcast again. It is very bright, so hence why I'm squinting a little bit, but it is absolutely roasting. So I thought I'd make the most of it and get out of my dining room and film a podcast outside again. And this just seems to be a reasonably quiet place. So yeah, I also feel a bit like I'm in a Westlife video, sat on one of the stools about to sing a song, but there will be no singing, thankfully, on this podcast. But yeah, basically, thought I'd do this podcast, give you a bit of a roundup on what's going on. I put a story up on Instagram to get a few topics and questions to speak about. So yeah, we'll try and cover that over the next however long this takes me. Hopefully it's a good one. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you for all of the support on the podcast, especially this season 3. It has gone up massively and I really appreciate every minute of it. If you are new, please drop it a like. Please subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, all of them, and leave a review because it makes a massive difference, probably more than you could think. Even just liking a piece of content, it helps me out and I am forever grateful for that. But I thought I'd probably start off with what's going on really. Obviously this season I've been a lot more consistent. That was the idea. So basically I got a backlog of podcasts recorded so that I was never sort of rushing around, because previous seasons what's happened is I've recorded a podcast and then got it up within a couple of days after that. Really not sustainable, especially around my day job. So this time I really set out, made a plan, got all my clips sorted for social media, for YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and really sort of put a content plan in place, and it's helped massively. I'm starting to see that pay dividends. But with that being said, I have now used all my backlog, which is not ideal, but I had an exam with work which was pretty big, so I stopped filming podcasts and then sort of dug into the backlog to the point where now I've not got any backlog, and I'm going to be getting a lot more guests coming up in the next couple of weeks. There's a lot going on at the moment. My life feels a little bit up in the air. So in my day job, I am a project accountant. So a lot of people message me on social media thinking I do that full time and I'm a full-time online coach, which is not the case at all. It's never been the case. It might be in the future, who knows, but for now I'm a project accountant during the day, and then I create content and do my podcast and online coaching on the side, and that's just the way it is at the moment. So yeah, it's a lot of work. But in terms of what I was saying before, so I had a big exam. I'm doing my management accounting qualification, so I had a case study exam, which is a big sort of end of level exam, and then the wind is picking up now. But yeah, it's a big end of level exam. I've got one more after this one. I don't get my results for about another 6 weeks. So I sat my exam, I think it was the 19th of May. I don't actually get my result until the 13th of July. So I was wanting to book a sort of summer holiday, but I can't really do that at the moment, because if I haven't passed the case study, then the chances are I will be resitting in August. And then not only that, if you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen my story the other day about the work from home interview attire. If you're watching on YouTube, it'll come up on the screen now. But yeah, I had an interview the other day, so I've applied for an 18-month international delegation program with work, which is a pretty exciting opportunity. It is one that is definitely pushing me outside of my comfort zone to go for, but really looking forward to the potential opportunity of that. So basically what happens is there's a load of, I work for an international company, so there's a lot of businesses all over the world. They nominate job roles forward, then we as employees nominate ourselves forward for the scheme. If we're successful, then we get matched up to a job role. So I don't have sort of any control over what job I'd be doing or where it's going to be, which is exciting and also kind of terrifying at the same time, but something that I'm kind of looking forward to. So I had my interview on Friday. I'm filming this on Sunday, the 4th of June. But yeah, I had my interview on the Friday. I only got the interview invitation through on Thursday with no real information about it. It was just like, George, you've got an interview tomorrow. I was like, okay. So I spoke to a lad that has just gone on the same scheme recently, and he said, it's just an interview where they sort of get to know you, whether you're going to be right for the scheme, so don't worry about it too much. turns out it was a full-on like competency-based interview, so it was standard interview questions. Luckily, why I've got a podcast, I'm quite good at just chatting random crap. So I think it went well. I find out, they said, around mid-June, so we'll see where that leads. But yeah, life's all up in the air at the moment a little bit. So if I was successful, I would be then moving October. Obviously, a lot of people would probably usually keep this stuff until something actually happens, but I'm just going to tell you now anyway. So, because one, it's something that's pretty exciting that's going on, and two, even if I don't get it, then who cares? I'll be open and honest that I didn't get on it. To be honest, I wasn't really expecting to, just from not even an experience thing, because I've been at the company for nearly 9 years, but the people that tend to get on the scheme are sort of higher up in their career than I currently am. But like I say, we will see what happens. But yeah, very exciting times. And something that I always say, push yourself out your comfort zone, because that's where the growth happens. I still live at home, so for me to be potentially moving out for the first time to a completely different country is a bit baffling. But like I say, we'll see what happens from there. But yeah, I've got a couple of topics to speak about from Instagram, so I'll just get them up on my phone. So this one came from one of my mates that I play football with, and it's a pretty good one. So, you seem very, very driven in your 9 to 5 job, always trying to better yourself, but you're also the same in your side projects and fitness career. If they come to a clash at some point and you feel like you need to go with one over the other, which one would it be and why? Now that is a hell of a question. So there's actually something that I kind of hinted at on Instagram the other day with another side project that I'm looking to take on, and it was potentially a clothing brand. Now the idea and the interest is very out there. I've spoke to quite a few people that would be interested. I've sent a couple of like mock-up designs that I've came up with. And the idea is a clothing brand. As you can see at the moment, I'm wearing an oversized top. I never would used to wear oversized tops, mainly because I feel like it just makes me look like a fridge. Because like I'm already quite a big, tall, broad person. Putting extra sort of clothing either side of me even makes me even wider. But as the hot weather comes in, I'm feeling a lot more comfortable in baggier clothing. I'm someone that always likes fitted clothing, especially to go to the gym, but when I'm hanging around doing like just going for a walk or just chilling around the house, I'm starting to prefer these oversized tops a lot more. So my idea is mainly going to be like an oversized clothing brand, oversized t-shirts should I say. I'm finding it quite interesting. I've not done a huge amount of work. I've done quite a bit in terms of finding suppliers, making designs myself. It's all relatively easy to do. It's just finding the right price point and the right buy-in point to make it obviously not too expensive for people, but also be the right quality and things like that. So I'm not going to go too much more into that, but it's something that my brother is also keen on helping on, because he's a little bit more creative from the designing point of view. Like I can get ideas in my head, but it's actually making them that I struggle with a little bit. So he's going to be helping me out with that. So yeah, keep an eye on that. But going back to the whole question, in terms of me being really driven in my day job and outside and side projects, I'm someone that just needs to be busy. I hate just sitting around, and when I do find myself sitting around and scrolling or just doing nothing that's productive, I start to annoy myself. So for me, chucking myself into like work or side projects, then that's where I sort of find a lot of value. In terms of whether I had to pick one over the other, obviously my day job is something that I've worked on for 9 years to sort of climb up the ladder, and it is a very stable income, especially in the business that I'm at now. I'm not going to go too much into it, but we've got a lot of projects sort of in the pipeline, so I shouldn't really be worrying about my job, especially considering the project I'm working on is 6 years long, so we're only a year into that, so should be all safe from that side of things. In terms of like my online coaching and things like that, I've always kept that to smaller numbers, mainly because I want to provide a good service to every client that I have. I don't want to just take on a load of clients for the sake of earning more money and then them getting half the service. I like to be more in touch with my clients and providing like a really good quality service. My podcast is something that I really enjoy doing. I like speaking to different types of people, getting their stories on things, because quite a lot of these people that I've had on the podcast are people that I've known through my Instagram account for years, but never actually spoke to them face to face. So me being able to sit down for like an hour and have a chat with someone that I may not ever meet because they may be either on the other side of the world or the side of the country. There's a whole load of things why I could never meet some of these people. So just being able to sit down for like an hour, 2 hours and just have a chat is a really nice thing. That was a really big B. But yeah, I think where I would have to pick one or the other would be probably if my online coaching absolutely just blew up all of a sudden and I couldn't turn down the amount of people that were coming to me for my service. Not to say that I've not got interest there in the first place, it's just it would have to blow up like monumentally for me to be like, right, do I consider taking this up as full time? At the moment I don't earn any money whatsoever from the podcast. Maybe in the future, from what I understand, there's not a lot of money in podcasting anyway. It is more things like sponsors, where you hear the bigger sponsors, the bigger podcasts where at the start they just reel off a load of sponsors. That's essentially when people are earning money. And then also, if you've got a big enough YouTube following, then obviously you can earn AdSense through that. Not quite there yet, but yeah, like I say, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you drop a subscribe and a like it, and we may get there at some point. But yeah, the podcast is something mainly for my enjoyment more than anything. So yeah, I'm going to just keep doing it and always getting better more than anything. Especially with the podcast, I ask all of the guests that I have on for any feedback so I can make the next episode even better or find out what I was doing good to do more of it. I'm someone that really drives for just constant improvement. I'm really bad, especially like in the gym with like numbers and things like that. I'm really maths based more than anything. Like at college I did maths, further maths and chemistry and physics at AS level, so I'm really maths based, so anything to do with numbers and analytics and stuff I'm really into. I've got spreadsheets for literally everything, so it's probably a little bit excessive, but yeah, I don't really have an answer for what I would do until it sort of the two are butting heads. But yeah, and then a follow on from that was I think it would be good to give us a bit of a run through of 24 hours or a full week and explain how you managed to fit so much in. So this is the same mate, he wonders how I actually get everything done. And the main thing for me is planning my week out. Like, it's a Sunday today, I will plan out everything for next week. So I usually get up around 7, I go for a morning walk. That's not even just to get my steps in, that's just so I can go to my desk with a clear head. So in a previous job, at one point I had a meeting every single day at 8 a.m. for six to 9 months, I think it was. And it just was a boring way of starting my day. Like, I'd literally wake up, roll out of bed, downstairs, because it was COVID at the time, so I was working from home, and I would literally just sit there on a meeting every single day, and it was just depressing more than anything. So I started getting up, going for a morning walk. It was only like 20 to 40 minutes depending on how much time I had, and it just makes me start my day. I feel a lot more refreshed, woken up, get home, get a shower, and then go and start my day. So yeah, that's the way I start my day. I then obviously work around 8 till 4 or 5 o'clock depending on how busy I am, and then I have my workouts, and then I plan out whether obviously I've got a podcast, whether I'm going out with friends, going to the cinema. That's one of my sort of downtime things. So I got a cinema card. Me and my mate go quite regularly, maybe once a week at times. I've had a few people call me the cinema man on Instagram now because I go that often, just because we found that whenever we go to watch like a decent film in the cinema, obviously all the trailers would come on and we'd go be like, oh, we'll go watch that one, and then when it came to it, we just weren't willing to pay 15 quid to go watch a film that we weren't really that bothered about. Whereas now we pay like, I think it's £16 a month, and we can go as often as we want. It's that Odeon limitless. So we will go and watch a film that we may not have originally paid for, and it could be crap, but it doesn't matter because we essentially see it as free. So we only have to go twice a month to make it even worth it. So that is the main way I get everything done, is basically just by prioritising things and planning them out. And I think it's such an easy way to do it, and it's just keeping yourself accountable with, I don't know, tick lists. I've got multiple tick lists on my phone with yeah, just to-do lists, and you can set like a little tick box, so you can just obviously tick it off, and obviously you get a little dopamine hit when you do that. Or you can go the old school method and do on a piece of paper, which I actually do with work. Just pure old school notepad, load of things that I need to do, and just tick them off, and it feels so good when you hit the bottom. But yeah, like I said, accountability is one of the main things, which I think going into like the online training, like personal training, is most people know how to go to the gym these days. They could probably find a workout plan off the internet pretty easily that will like get them to where they want to be. It's just accountability is the main thing. So people need those check-ins. People need that little message on whatever WhatsApp or Instagram or whatever the trainer uses to sort of speak to their clients, just to go like, hey, are you going to the gym today? How's the diet going? Like just the little pointers and tips. I think that is the main reason why a lot of people have an online coach. It's just pure accountability. And yeah, if you want something, then you've got to work for it at the end of the day. You can't just expect things to happen out of thin air. It just doesn't work like that. Unfortunately, otherwise everyone would be absolutely massive and ripped, or millionaires or successful businesses. It doesn't just happen. You've got to put the work in. Right, so next one. Oh, same lad. Best cheat meals. See, I have actually done a Instagram video on this. I don't see it as cheat meals. Oh, have we got someone turning down? I don't know. Yeah, so things like cheat meals, I'm not that big on them, just because I think it makes it sound like it's a bad thing to go and have a meal that you enjoy but see it as like a really bad thing. I'm sort of against calling it cheat meals, but sort of my favourite sort of higher calorie meals, I don't really have too many, because like I would be more than happy just to eat roast chicken and boiled potatoes and salad. Like that is one of my favourite meals. It sounds really boring and a bit like meatheadish, but oh, we've got a car coming. I'm going to get some awkward looks. So yeah, I'm pretty like I could quite easily have like a steak and chips. I'm not too big on the higher. Well, I could quite easily eat a lot of food. I could eat Chinese for days, but in terms of like if I was going to have like a really nice meal, it would be like a steak and chips. So nothing too major. Since you've had your cinema card, what are your top 5 movies you've seen and reasons why? So this being said, so I had a quick look before. I've seen, I think, 53 films since I've had it, which is just over a year. I am starting to sweat through this top, by the way, so keep that to yourselves in the comments. It is roasting, and I've got the sun beaming down on me. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, 53 visits I've had, and I think I've had it for about just under 18 months. So let's have a quick look. Past purchases. So I'll go through some of the recent ones. So Fast 10. So that's the latest Fast and Furious film. Now, obviously, if you've watched all 9 previous to that, you're not going to go watch the 10th one. Don't get me wrong, it is a crap film, but amazing at the same time, because it's just so unrealistic. Like, if you've seen it, you'll know what I mean. Like, some of the things and stunts that happen, even some of the CGI is really bad, especially for 2023. But great film nevertheless. Like, you've got to go watch it, and I've heard there's going to be another 2 films after that, and you best believe I'm going to be watching it. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, that was a good one. I like that one. Can't really say why. It was just a nice all-round film. I know a lot of people that... Sorry, Range Rover went past. Yeah, a lot of people were sort of getting upset about it because they like the storyline and everything. But yeah, really good film. The Scream films and the Halloween films, I'm going to put these both together as well, because again, crap films, but amazing. Just so unrealistic. Like in Halloween, you've obviously got Mike Myers following them. Wait, am I getting those mixed up? No, I'm not. You've obviously got them walking after people, they're sprinting away, but somehow he's round the corner every time. Mental. And then Scream, again, unrealistic as anything. But if there's another film, I'm still going to go watch it. One of the best I'd say 2 films that stick out are Top Gun and what was the other one? The Elvis film. The Elvis film was really good. I assume most people have watched both of these. I think with Top Gun, it was very similar, like sort of vibe to the first one, and I think the way that carried through to the more recent film was really good. Right, let's have a look what else we've got. Ba, 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 ba. Top 5 things that you'd be on your bucket list and when you could realistically do them. I don't really have. This is going to sound really boring answer, but like I don't really have any sort of bucket list items. For me, it's growing my online coaching business and it's growing my podcast and obviously succeeding in my day job as high as I possibly can. So for me, I guess it's mainly just continuous improvement on every aspect of what I do. I don't have any things like, oh, I want to jump out of a plane, because one, I'm not big on heights, especially without control. Oh, turn that off. Yeah, so I don't think there's too many things. Like I think one of them is obviously just traveling as many places I can go and see, because obviously the world's a big place and it's never been so easy to get around the world with all the flights and everything. Don't get me wrong, it's more expensive after COVID, which is far from ideal, but we'll make it work and see how many places we can travel. Especially that opens up more places. Oh, Range Rover man's coming back. Yeah, so if we manage to get on that scheme and move away, it opens even more doors to travel. Got a nod from Range Rover man. Nice one. Right, here we go. These are some big ones, I think. So, on Instagram I got a message saying men looking at women in the gym when they're recorded and women freaking out might be more of an American thing. I've actually covered this on one of my other podcasts. I think it was the first episode of the season with Liam Cavanagh. We touched on this towards the back end of it. I think it got blown out of proportion massively. Now obviously there are the extremes of everything, so yes, I'm not denying there are probably creepy fellas in the gym, but there are also probably creepy women in the gym. I think it works both ways, but I said that if you are filming in the gym, then you can't not expect people to look at you, because you are doing something that's out of the norm in the gym, especially for the older generation that haven't grown up with the social media and Instagram and everything that goes with it. So I think to a level, you've obviously got to expect the extra attention. It's like if I started walking around the gym in a tutu and then I start kicking off at people for looking at me, and it's a bit of a ridiculous thing. But yeah, I think you've got to take it all with a pinch of salt. Like I say, there's extremes of everything. It works always. Yeah, I don't want to go too much into that topic before. Yeah, I just don't. It's one of them. There's always going to be outliers. There's always going to be the odd people that potentially do. But what I will say is, I think the people that are calling people out for literally just glancing at you whilst you are recording in the gym is probably almost like a boy who cried wolf. So when something extreme does happen, maybe those people aren't heard as well because of the amount of accusations that are out there that are just false accusations. And I'm not saying it's just men and women, it could be women and men, either way. So yeah, I think people have just got to be careful of what they're accusing people of, because a lot of these people have massive following, and obviously the people in the videos have family, jobs, friends, whatever. So you've just got to be careful both sides. Asking to jump in a set with someone and them declining, which doesn't affect them in the slightest. So again, I've had it a lot of times where I've got one exercise left, I've gone over to someone and just said, how many sets do you have left? Not being pushy or anything, just so I know in case I can go for an alternate exercise. And a fair few times fairly recently, people have said, oh, do you just want to jump in? Which either, like, if someone asked that to me, or I would offer them as well. I don't really have an issue with it, but I've been going to the gym for coming up to 12 years now, so I'm not really fazed by the gym environment. Whereas, say if there was, I don't know, like a young lad or a girl who's fairly new to the gym, if you're going over to then ask them to work in a set with them, especially if you're a lot stronger, that may be a bit intimidating. So yeah, you've just got to have a bit of understanding. Like if you're going over to like your regular gym bro and he's declining, then I wouldn't worry too much about it. Obviously it's not ideal, especially in busy gyms these days, but yeah, it's a tough one. I can kind of understand it from both points. Gym brand review. Only thought as bought something from Alphalete, never again. Service is dreadful. Waited over a month for it and can't even return as it never get a reply. Loads of bad reviews fueled by juiced up influencers. Now, I haven't really bought anything from Alpha Elite for about 6 years. But then being fueled up by juiced up influencers, yeah, I think we see that a lot with fitness brands these days, obviously. Um, PEDs is a massive thing in the influencer world, and there's a lot of people that deny it, which I think is wrong more than anything. It's almost fraud, especially to those PTs that say like, oh, buy my plan and you can look like me, when it's never going to happen because you've been pumping juice since you were like 16. So yeah, again, take it with a pinch of salt. The average person is never going to look like any of these juiced up influencers. There's so many things going on that you're unaware with, but it's the same. It happens in sport as well, like especially the sport of cycling. Massive doping scandals going on there for years. So I think you've just got to use your brain. If you think they're on juice or you've got to question it, chances are they probably are. So yeah, but these are the people that are getting all the crazy engagement because of the way they look, and quite a lot of them probably aren't that happy. They're damaging their hormones, they're damaging the body, potentially going to die early. You see it quite a lot recently. I've seen across Instagram. I don't really know the people that have been passing away, unfortunately, but a lot of it is through years of PED abuse. Rich Piana comes to mind, famous bodybuilder for years, but yeah, really open about his usage. But yeah, at some point it's going to catch up to you. Next one, building strength and size, as so many people want to get stronger but then just do loads of hypertrophy instead of less reps, heavier weight. Not saying you can't build strength like that, but it's not efficient. So yeah, it's all down to your goals. So if you want to get stronger, then you've obviously got to do those lower rep ranges, those more strength-based activities, your heavy compound movements. We've got another car. Yeah, you've got to do your heavy compound movements. So you've got to get your squat, bench, deadlift, overhead presses, like all the movements that you can go really heavy on. But it also depends on what your actual goal is. So if you're wanting to get really strong, but you also want to be really fast, then you've got to balance out each exercise and goal. In terms of, yeah, if you want to build size but then doing loads of hypertrophy training, then you can still like build strength. It's just progressive overload. There's multiple ways you can do it. You can increase your weight each session. You can throw paused reps, slower eccentrics, 1 and 1/4 reps. There's so many ways that you can progressively overload to build size and strength at the same time. So yeah, if you're struggling with that, cut a walker. If you're struggling with that, then obviously reach out and I'm more than happy to help you out. I wonder how many people are going to come past in this one, because the last time I did it, barely anyone came past, and I've had about 5 cars and now a walker. So next one, what made you start the podcast? I've sort of touched on this already. So obviously for me, it is just an enjoyment thing. Being able to speak to people that I've known for years through Instagram, it's just a really nice way to get in contact with people, get their story, and just, yeah, have a conversation. How you balance a full-time job, fitness and podcast. Already gone over this one as well. It's all about time management and keeping yourself accountable and planning your time out. Quite a lot of people, especially when they come to me for online coaching, just say, oh, I just have no time to go to the gym. I have my clients in and out of the gym in roughly 40-45 minutes. I do it myself the same. It's all about priority. Most people still manage to watch their favourite programme of an evening or a Netflix show. Why can't you get your workout in as well? It's mainly down to priorities. So like that with me, I make my job, my fitness, my podcast, my online training a priority. Once I've got those things done, I have my free time. So yeah, it's all about priorities, and you've just got to look at them, write them down, and then action it. How you say so consistent with content. Now this one makes me laugh a little bit. I don't feel like I'm that consistent anymore. Probably being a little bit harsh on myself. I would still post more than most people. The way I get round being more consistent with content is I batch content up. So I will often go into the gym and film multiple videos, especially the speaking ones. I get 5 to 10 videos, bank them up, and then I can post them. The same with my podcast. So what I'll do is when I film it, I'll already have it scheduled for X amount of weeks ahead, so I've got that time to then watch it back over, get my YouTube clips, the longer ones, and then the shorter ones for Instagram and TikTok. And again, just have them batched up, and then I can just post constantly. So it's not like I'm constantly filming all the time on multiple days. I'm batching it up, and it is probably the most sustainable way to get constant content out there. What's next for me? So yeah, we've kind of touched on this one as well. Yeah, so obviously I'm waiting to hear back on my interview, potentially ending up somewhere in the world. If not, I will be still here, and then probably look to actually move out towards the back end of the year. Hopefully house prices come down and mortgage rates, but that is a completely different topic that I don't really have too much knowledge of. Obviously I'm looking to start the clothing brand, so stay tuned for that. I just need to work on names. I think I've got a name. Well, I've actually designed a whole logo. I've worked on the name, I've worked on a little tagline, I've worked on designs. It's just finding the right place to order from. And so the next step of that is getting some samples, obviously then waiting on my exam result. And that will then allow me to hopefully book a summer holiday. But then again, if I get my job in wherever in the world, I'll be moving out in October, so I may need to bank some holidays just in case I need to come home or need to go out there to have a look around the place. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's just chucked up in the air at the moment, but it's something that I'm kind of just going with the flow, and when things happen, then I can move on from that. But yeah, if I don't end up getting on this scheme as well, I already have a sort of plan in place with my manager to actually get to the next level of my career. So that would be something that I'd be working towards, probably towards the start to middle of next year. We have one last topic, so controversial but PEDs. I don't know if it is controversial, to be honest. For me, I've been asked multiple times. It mainly comes from people that I went to school with, because in school I was reasonably skinny. I had a really big growth spurt when I was 15, so I grew like 8 inches in 6 months, which was stupidly painful, especially on my knees and my shins. I used to be like in pain every day walking to school. It was not nice. So I grew up really quickly, but I didn't put any weight on. So I was at 15, I was 6'2" and 10 stone 2 pounds, which is not a lot at all for a lad that size. So I actually went on holiday with the family in October of, it would have been 2011. I'll put a photo on the screen for anyone watching on YouTube, and that was actually the photo that made me beg my mum and dad to let me join the gym, because I was doing stuff at home but I wasn't being able to sort of progressively overload anything. And then I joined the gym and I literally put on a stone in about a month, just from increased eating and just working out 5 days a week, and really taking advantage of those newbie gains. Got really good genetics for sort of packing on muscle early on. And then obviously I went into rowing. I had 9 sessions a week with that for literally like 2.5 years straight. I had GB trials twice with rowing. So PEDs was never even an option. Like, I've never touched a single thing, and I would always be completely open and honest about that. Because at any race that I went to, there was a chance of just a random doping test, so it wasn't worth it for one, and two, I didn't really see any need to, because I was more than capable of putting muscle on, and also stupidly fit at the time as well. Like, to the fitness levels where I'm nowhere near now. I have a 2K test PB of like 640 when I was 17. I did one about a year or two ago for a YouTube video, and I got 7 minutes dead. So something that I could probably improve on. Obviously I've got a lot more size and power now, so if I got my fitness up, I could probably get back down to that, but power to weight ratios is not even close. So yeah, I'd been going the gym consistently for 12 years nearly. So that's what a lot of people haven't seen, especially when I meet people from school. They still remember the tall, skinny George, whereas now I'm about 6 stone heavier. I'm about just over 16, between 16 and 16 and a half stone. Another thing that's helped with that is my legs. I went through knee rehab. That helped me put on a bit of size on my legs as well. Yeah, there's a lot of things that people just didn't see or realise, that obviously 12 years of consistent training, the longest I've ever had off the gym is 3-week holiday to Florida. Other than that, the longest would have been like holidays where I've been gone for like a week or 2 weeks max. It's just something that is part of my lifestyle, and I feel awkward if I don't go to the gym. It's part of my routine, and I think that's why a lot of people struggle with going to the gym. They don't make it their routine, and they don't make it that they feel awkward if they don't go. But in terms of PEDs, look, if someone's going to take them, it's their body at the end of the day. That's how I see it. If they want to do it, my only issue is when they start lying about it and they're like, oh, I'm natural, lifetime natural. You see loads of Instagram accounts where it says lifetime natty in like the bio, and I'm like, well, that already is a red flag to me because you're probably not. James Smith says if you hear hooves, think horses, not zebras. Because obviously the more likely chances it's going to be a horse, especially, well, unless you live in like the African desert or something. Yeah, that's my main issue with it, when people lie about it. Like, I understand to an extent why some people do, because they don't want to be like, right, this is the stack I'm on, and then a young kid goes and sees it and goes, right, if I take that I'm going to look like whoever. I kind of understand that, but it's when they're sort of lying. Like, I'd rather they just said, yeah, I'm not natural. They don't have to disclose what they're on, because then no one can copy it. But it's when they're like, oh, I'm natural, here's my workout plan, or here's my online coaching. Yeah, like I said before, it's essentially fraud. That's how I see it. Yeah, that's the only really thoughts I have on it, to be honest. Like I say, it's your body. If you're considering it or doing it, have a reason why you're doing it. Like, don't do it just to be the biggest guy in the room. Especially if, like, I understand why people like bodybuilders take it, because literally everyone is on it. If you're not on it, you're not going to be anywhere near it. These guys are like absolute freaks in nature with muscles in places where muscles just aren't. So yeah, have a genuine reason for doing it. Know the risks and rewards of actually doing it. If you've got a family and you're just doing it to be the biggest guy in your local gym, then you've got to question whether it's actually worth it. Like I said before, there's a lot of young lads these days that are unfortunately passing away from PED abuse, and yeah, it's becoming a lot more common, especially in the you just standard commercial gyms. There's a lot more people than you probably think that are on them that just don't look like your mad influencer bodybuilders. And another thing that you've got to take into account is these people were already in ridiculous shape before they started taking performance enhancing drugs. They have those genetics to predispose them to make them look that way. They just add into that with whatever they're taking. So if you're like someone with genetics that aren't so aesthetic, maybe is the word, that's not going to all of a sudden make you look that bodybuilder aesthetic sort of way. So yeah, you got to yeah, make sure it's actually worth doing. And another thing is, with anything, you're probably getting something that's unregulated. You're not going to get it from a pharmacy. You're getting it from some random fella down the gym or something. You don't genuinely know what is in that. And there's so many things that can go wrong with it. I've heard of so many lads that have like injected in their thigh and they've got it in the wrong place and ended up in A&E because the thighs just blew up and gone all black and blue. So yeah, for me it's not something I'll ever touch. I have no need to. I'm not a bodybuilder. I do local sports. I go to the gym more for a mental thing these days and just health and fitness. I'm not really looking to get any bigger. I already have a few issues buying clothes as it is, especially like shorts and jeans and pants and stuff. So yeah, I have no reason to ever do it. Also, I'm a bit of a shitbag with needles. I'd probably pass out. I literally went for a blood test a couple of years ago and passed out in the seat. So yeah, it's not even something I could even consider from that point of view. But yeah, that's my overall opinion on it. Now, we're going to wrap this one up. This is the last Big Lab podcast, season 3. What I was saying before was obviously I've not got a backlog anymore, and that is something that I want to get back. I've got guests already lined up, so it's not an issue of timings and everything like that. It's just the fact that I've used my backlog up whilst I was revising for my exam. We're going to come back, get a load of podcasts recorded, and get that backlog of content all ready to go, because I don't want to just keep rolling out podcasts without getting the content edited to be able to post through social media to keep that going. Like I say, I've got a backlog of previous podcast content that I can still post to keep the Instagram going and things like that. But in terms of actual new podcasts, I don't want to just be rolling them out week by week. I want to be able to have a backlog so that if again something comes up like revising for an exam, I don't have to worry. I've got 2, 3, 4 podcasts in the bank. But that being said, if you have listened to this season, again, thank you very much. If you've got to the end of this podcast, I hope it was an enjoyable one. If you have, make sure you drop it a like, a review. It all means the world to me. But yeah, this is going to be, like I say, the last episode of season 3. And I thought, why not end it, episode 15, on a solo podcast? I think I'm probably going to do one of these every season. I've already got quite a few exciting guests coming up. I am trying to sort of move away a little bit from just PTs. I'm going to look for business owners, athletes, sports people. So yeah, stay tuned for Season 4. It'll be coming very, very soon. It's not going to be a big break at all. But yeah, like I say, if you enjoyed this one, make sure you drop it a like. If you're new, subscribe, and I'll see you in Season 4. Sweaty as, look at the state of that.